Today's side-scrolling superheroes game is Batman, Rise of Sin Tzu, and holy aspirin, Batman, do I have a headache playing this game. I actually had to ask my kid to leave my game cave while I was playing this on my GameCube on television because I was screaming at my television and I was worried that I was going to introduce a whole bunch of new swear words to my kid. This game is insufferable. It is such a punishingly stupid game to play. I mean, that's how I feel about this game. Even in 2020, even when I look back on these classic games, this came out in 2003, so it's a 17-year-old Batman game. But even today, with you know, the best of intentions, because that's what I'm doing with side-scrolling superheroes, is I'm going back and I'm playing a bunch of classic games, and I've been having generally a pretty decent time, and I've found a lot of nice surprises. This game, though, is one of those awful, devastating bombs that comes into your life every once in a while. It's just so tedious. It's so boring. There's some great elements in here. I like the animation. It was developed by Ubisoft, and it has a loose connection to the animation systems that we would see in classic Prince of Persia games. So we've got a little bit of this rotoscoped, very detailed animation strings that come together. Batman doesn't just climb down a ladder. He does this huge flourish with his cape flying everywhere, and he slides down a ladder. He's got a pretty cool swing mechanic, and some of the punches and kicks and uppercuts and stuff that Batman can pull off are pretty cool, but you have to do so much of the same thing in levels that look so similar from one to another. It just feels like there's no progress happening. It's about knocking down bad guys and stealing a key and then unlocking a door and getting into another area that looks exactly the same with the exact same looking bad guys. So you're in docks, you're in sewers, you're in Arkham Asylum, you're in the Batcave, you're on Gotham streets, you're in Chinatown. That sort of rinse and repeat design ethos that we saw through a lot of side-scrolling games. But what's unbelievable to me is how much the character models are just reused over and over again. And they can just take a flurry of punches and kicks and this sort of loose combo structure that you're pulling off. And as I was playing it on the GameCube, I was basically just moving the controller around in all kinds of directions and just slamming on the B button. And my punching and kicking was just happening. And these guys, these bad guys that I kept beating up, would just stand there and take it, just like I was pummeling them. And then finally they would drop. And then I would encounter another exactly the same duplicate of the same villain, you know, and every once in a while they would block or I would pull away a little bit. But I was just so frustrated playing this game. Not only the combat sequences, which were tedious and so repetitive, it was ridiculous. It was like the game was punking me. But there are massive collision detection issues in this game as well. You'll miss jumps that you're sure you're going to get to. You'll miss platforms. Batman will just glide through a platform. He won't hook onto it, and he won't do some athletic maneuver to access that thing. So you're constantly having to restart levels over and over again, and there's no payoff. I mean, all you're doing is you're pulling a lever, and some door that you can't see down below on the level has opened, so you've got to try to get there in time, and along the way, you will run into some brick wall of a bad guy that can take a million punches before he falls down. Oh, the timer ran out, so you got to go back, pull that lever again, come back, and hopefully take down this guy and you can get past the door, and then you'll meet another big gorilla dude that can just take a million punches and find another lever or find a key card. You know, there are some routine kind of platformer puzzles where maybe some chemicals are rising up on the screen and you've got to get to the top of the screen before you're consumed by it. I was just really pissed off playing this game. I'm not gonna lie, because it looks pretty cool. It uses the animated series aesthetic, and on the console versions of this game, and I remember being disappointed by those as well when I reviewed them back in the day. They had Kevin Conroy in there.
I'm on my way.
Ron Perlman in there.
Children, come to me!
Put some real production work into the whole Sin Tzu idea, which was an original bad guy created for this series of games. You also fight Bane and Scarecrow and Clayface, but man, it is just sheer tedium to get to these boss fights, just to work your way through these levels. I've been having a pretty good time playing superhero Game Boy Advance games on the GameCube that I've got hooked up. Thank you again to HDRGB for the GameCube that you sent out to me. But this has just been an exercise in futility, anger, and it doesn't feel healthy, you know? Like, I'm playing and I'm like, why am I playing this game? It's making me just, I can feel my blood pressure going up, you know? Like, it's really, really so disappointing. And it reminds me of the time when I was doing reviews on the run at Judgment Day with Tommy Tallarico, and there were just like this flood of great Spider-Man game after another, one after another, and there were so many crappy Batman games. And I remember this one being one of those. It probably isn't the worst one I've played, but yeah, Rise of Sin Tzu was disappointing back then, and I'm shocked at how just awful this game is to play in 2020. Rise of Sin Tzu is very, very disappointing. Even though there's some interesting art elements, I'm never going to be playing this one again. I'm going to give Batman Rise of Sin Tzu for the Game Boy Advance a 4 out of 10.